Madeleine is a beautiful, bright, funny and caring little girl. She is so special.
Kate phoned us at just after 3 in the morning. She said Madeleine's been abducted.
If you have seen this little girl, please could you go to your local authorities or police and give any information?
It is without doubt the biggest manhunt the Portuguese have ever organized.
We would again like to appeal for any information, however small, that may lead to the safe return of Madeleine.
It's a mystery that has captured the attention of the world.
We don't know where she is. We don't know who's taken her. We don't know why.
The traces of the child's DNA have been found in a car rented by her parents after she vanished.
Well, it came as a real body blow to suddenly realise that the police were not looking for Madeleine at all. They were looking at Kate and Jerry.
We know we are innocent. We know that she was taken.
The media is a very dangerous, slippery beast.
We would like to thank the media.
You've got the press eating out of your hand, and they'll turn around and they'll bite your head off.
I'll take anything that's thrown at me, but number one is getting my daughter back.
Tonight, with the help of one of America's top investigators,
everything you read in the press is nonsense, it's trash.
We separate fact from fiction.
Was this an accidental death that was covered up? Was this a murder that was covered up? Or was this an abduction?
And a world exclusive.
I never in a million years thought it could have been Madeleine.
For the first time, this witness, on vacation with the McCanns, discloses the startling information she told police.
I just saw somebody walking across the top of the road, and that person was carrying a child.
Oh, I didn't realise you were there.
Plus, never-before-seen video shot by a close family friend.
Kate and I were not in the apartment when it happened, and we've got to face up to that.
A beautiful 4-year-old girl, a handsome-looking couple, a peaceful family holiday, and then bang, tragedy. And it's not finished yet.
Where's Maddie? A special 48 hours mystery.
Praia de Luz, a resort town in the Algarve region of Portugal, where the Mediterranean meets the Atlantic, and the sun shines over 300 days a year. It was the perfect spot for two busy British doctors, Kate and Jerry McCann, to vacation last spring with their 3 children and a group of friends.
It was very quiet, and we felt, you know, that it was virtually an idyllic holiday, really.
Especially idyllic for their 3-year-old daughter, Madeleine. On May 3rd, Madeleine had her first tennis lesson, says her Aunt Philomena.
It was a fantastic time. In fact, Madeleine had said to her mum it was the best day of her life.
But it would become the worst day of her life. At 8:30 p.m., the McCanns made a disastrous decision. They left their 3 sleeping children alone in their unlocked apartment and went to the resort's tapas bar. There, they met 7 friends for drinks and appetizers. At 10 p.m., Kate walked back to the apartment to check on the children. Inside, she immediately noticed something was wrong. This bed, Madeleine's bed, was empty. She was gone.
And then I saw Kate running around shouting Madeleine, and Kate said to me, "Jane, Madeleine's gone, Madeleine's gone."
Jane Tanner was one of the friends at Kate's side. Tonight, in a world exclusive, Tanner breaks 6 months of silence to reveal stunning new details about a mysterious man she saw that night, a man who may hold the answer to this mystery.
Well, as I was walking up the road, this man was walking across the top of the road, carrying a small child, and the thing that I noticed the most was he was holding her, and I could see her bare feet and the bottom of the pyjamas.
Tanner told police her story that night.
When I first saw him, it was a 5-second thought, oh, looks a bit odd. But I would never have thought, you know, at that point, I would never have thought, oh, that is Madeleine being abducted.
Police didn't think it was an abduction either. They thought Madeleine had simply wandered off. Desperate, Jerry McCann called his brother John.
Jerry was on the end of the phone, you know, crying his heart out, saying that Madeleine had been taken.
Jerry's next phone call was to Kate's mother, Susan Healy.
He says there'd been a disaster, and we just expected the phone to go any minute to say that they'd found Madeleine, and of course this didn't happen.
Kate phoned us in the early hours of the morning, 3:20 in the morning.
Close family friend and filmmaker John Corner.
She asked us to pray for Madeleine. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not really a praying person, so I knew I had some home movie footage somewhere of Madeleine, and by 7:30 we got it fired up to the broadcasters.
John's footage aired that afternoon on the BBC.
3-year-old Madeleine McCann, who's been
touching off a media tsunami.
Portugal are investigating claims that a 3-year-old British girl has been abducted.
The next day, the McCanns were in front of the cameras themselves.
Words cannot describe the anguish and despair that we are feeling as the parents of our beautiful daughter, Madeleine.
Within days, Madeleine's precious little face fueled one of the largest international searches for a missing child in history.
Please, please do not hurt her. Please don't scare her. Please tell us where to find her.
It seemed the whole world was fixated on finding the little girl, now known as Maddie. Her face was everywhere. And so were the McCanns. They traveled throughout the region to keep Madeleine in the public eye. They met with Pope Benedict. Even soccer superstar David Beckham made a personal plea.
If you have seen this little girl, please could you go to your local authorities or police and give any information that you have.
Hundreds of reporters descended in the days after Madeleine's disappearance on this resort. One reported to police that a British citizen named Robert Murat, who lives right down this road, was acting suspiciously. Other witnesses reportedly claimed they saw Murat hanging around the resort on the night Maddie went missing, something he and his family vehemently deny. Murat's mother, Jenny.
They couldn't have seen him. He was at home all night.
Police name Murat an Arguido, Portuguese for suspect. But for now, he hasn't been charged with any crime. After Murat, the investigation hit a wall. 3 months passed with no new leads, but the McCanns kept searching, refusing to leave Portugal without Maddie. In August, they invited John Corner to bring his camera.
So it's very much a search for a live little girl.
His intimate footage of the McCanns' quest to find their daughter has never been seen until tonight.
The first thing you notice is that Jerry never stops working from the minute he gets up trying to find Madeleine. I don't know where he gets the energy from.
Just tell us what you're doing then, Jerry. Just printing off some new posters, doing these in Portuguese, Spanish.
And well into the night, he's still writing. And then he'll snatch a few hours sleep, and then it starts again. And I think that's how he copes. Kate copes by doing the day-to-day normal tasks. But Kate suffers more. And Jerry can cut out the pain through working, whereas Kate is able to face that pain head on and to actually let herself be overtaken by it now and again.
Corner traveled with the McCanns last August as they search for Maddie in Spain.
You know, I'm thinking, where's Madeline? You know, and I just want to search it all, and you know, I'm looking at everything, and you just want to check everything.
In some ways, Madeline was more than a daughter to Kate. She was a miracle. Unable to conceive, the couple endured a series of heartbreaking in vitro fertilization procedures until finally, Kate became pregnant with Maddie.
What was it like for Jerry and Kate when Madeline was born?
Well, they were walking on air, quite frankly. They were walking on air. And Madeline is like a mini Kate, you know, and the bond between Kate and Madeline is something amazing, really.
But why then did Kate and Jerry leave Maddie and the twins alone in an unlocked apartment and go out to dinner with their friends more than 40 yards away? The McCanns spoke about their ill-fated decision with John Corner.
We'll always live with the fact that Kate and I were not in the apartment when it happened. And we've got to face up to that.
I mean, there isn't a day that goes by that I'm not kind of thinking to myself, why did I think that was okay? You know, was I wrong in thinking that was okay? And, you know, I mean, all I can say to myself is I know how much I love my children. I know I'm a responsible parent, and I know that.
But soon, media coverage went from accusations of neglect
Could you just give us some words, please?
to something far more sinister.
How do you deal with the fact that more and more people seem to be pointing the finger at you?
And soon, it wasn't just reporters asking tough questions.
Today, Kate McCann has returned to Portimao to be questioned by the Portuguese police.
We're looking down on the apartment that Madeline was taken from.
There is an intensive search and investigation underway.
In the first days after Madeline McCann's disappearance, the resort was swarming with police. They thought the child had simply wandered off. Her parents believed she had been abducted.
We beg you to let Madeline come home. Please give our little girl back.
But after 4 months and few leads, the investigation shifted dramatically. Kate and Jerry McCann turned from tragic victims into prime suspects in their daughter's disappearance. On September 7th, Kate McCann is interrogated by Portuguese detectives for 11 hours. The next day, Jerry was also questioned.
What has happened today?
No charges have been brought against them.
But the Portuguese police named the couple as arguidos, official suspects. Kate told her family she was asked to sign a confession, admitting that Madeline died accidentally and she and Jerry staged the disappearance.
I know my daughter. I know how much Madeline meant to her. My daughter had absolutely nothing to do with the disappearance of her daughter.
But police sources told 48 Hours the couple became suspects when police dogs detected the scent of death inside their apartment. And after possible traces of Madeline's DNA were found in their rental car.
What DNA evidence? The number of family members that have been in that hire car, of course, there's going to be similar DNA, but to say that it's Madeline's DNA is just, you know, come on, let's get back to reality.
Jerry, what do you need now?
The day after being named suspects, the McCanns were allowed to fly home to England with the twins.
As parents, we cannot give up on our daughter. We have played no part in the disappearance of our lovely daughter, Madeline.
As official suspects, the McCanns, as well as Portuguese investigators, are bound by law to not comment on evidence in the investigation.
I can't see anything, I'm afraid.
A lot of the facts in this case are not available. Those facts are held strictly by the police. But as an investigator, in looking into this situation, there's many ways to skin a cat. I mean, you certainly...
Joe Moura, a Boston-based private eye, has worked cases in Portugal.
I was born in Portugal, so I speak Portuguese fluently.
48 Hours hired Moura to go undercover at the Ocean Club. His assignment, determine if Maddie was abducted or if her parents were involved. He familiarized himself with the layout of the resort, the McCann's apartment, and its proximity to the tapas bar, where the McCanns ate that night.
Wow, how are you?
He immediately discovered something that raised doubts about the McCanns' original story.
It's a similar scenario to dining in your garden. We were very close. And we
Close enough, the McCanns told authorities, that they could watch the door of their apartment while at dinner.
You've sat at the very table where the McCanns were eating and drinking, correct?
More than once, yes.
Could you see those sliding doors?
It's impossible. There is a wall. There's hedges on top of that wall. They would have had absolutely no possibility of seeing someone going in or out of that apartment from where they were that evening.
After befriending employees, Moura uncovered important details of the McCanns and their friends' dinner routine. Important details of the McCanns and their friends' dinner routine.
Their routine was similar. They arrived at 8:30 for dinner, and they would stay until 12:30 a.m. We even know, for example, how many bottles of wine they had.
How many?
Well, they had been reported in the media they were drinking 14 bottles of wine, but my sources say no, it was 6, 7 bottles of wine routinely every evening.
Joe Moura is not the only person focusing in on the McCanns' nightly routine at the Ocean Club.
You're with a few friends, you're locked into a routine.
Close friend John Corner says it's that routine that created a perfect opportunity for a predator.
Somebody's watched Madeline, somebody's become fixated on Madeline.
Using his video camera, Corner explored a possible abduction scenario.
If you were going to watch your family, where would you stand?
That a predator would have had ample opportunity to observe the McCanns' vacation routine.
From this balcony up here, you can see everything. Every night they're seeing Kate and Jerry comes out of that little gate. You can see them sitting in the tapas bar. With a very small movement of your head, you could watch the whole thing.
And sometime after 8:30, while the McCanns and friends were eating, Corner believes a predator made his move. Going first through this gate, then the unlocked sliding doors, and grabbed Maddie.
And Pride Lucia's so sleepy, so quiet, so nobody'd see her.
But this abduction theory and the idea that nobody would have seen a predator doesn't wash with these guys.
I think it's very difficult for someone to get in, get out, and not being seen.
I don't believe.
Dr. Paulo Sargento is a forensic psychologist in Lisbon. Along with Dr. Pedro Gamito, he created a computer simulation for Portuguese TV of the events leading up to the disappearance of Maddie.
This is an Ocean Club.
The researchers used information from the McCanns, their friends, and published reports to reconstruct the events of May the 3rd, 2007.
Our simulation begins with Jerry and Kate picking up their children to the daycare center.
That was around 6 p.m., the last time anyone other than the McCanns or their friends saw Maddie alive.
At 8:30, Kate and Jerry arrive at Tapas Bar. 8:45, their friends arrive also at the Tapas Bar.
Throughout the dinner, the McCanns claimed they and their friends frequently checked on their children, who had been left alone in their apartment.
At 9:10, Jane arrives at Tapas Bar. 9:25, Jerry returned to the apartment. Matthew leaves to the apartment. 9:30, Russell goes to the apartment.
So it looks like there was a lot of foot traffic between this bar and that apartment.
Exactly.
How frequently were people going?
More or less 14 times in 2 hours.
14 times in 2 hours?
Yeah,
Coming and going.
Coming and going.
The researchers say this almost non-stop activity would, in fact, deter a predator, making abduction highly unlikely.
With the available data, it's more like an homicide than an abduction or a kidnap.
This looks more like a murder to you.
Yeah, like a murder to me.
A police source has told 48 Hours that because of inconsistencies, investigators want to re-interview the McCann friends, including Jane Tanner.
You know, we've got nothing to hide. We just said what happened, and I don't understand how they can say that doesn't add up because we've just said what happened on the night.
Tanner still believes she saw Maddie's abductor.
So it was just complete shock and complete horror that, I might have seen Madeleine being abducted.
And she knows the McCanns are innocent.
We know Kate and Jerry well, and we know that there's no way that, what the media's saying is true. It's just madness.
Police sources say they have ruled out that the McCanns murdered Maddie, but still think Kate and Jerry may have covered up an accidental death.
We know the truth. I know I'm innocent. Jerry knows he's innocent. We know each other are innocent.
An abduction, a murder, a cover-up? Somebody knows.
Could you take some for amigos?
If the most important thing you can do as a parent of a missing child is to keep your child's face and name where the public can see it, the McCanns have done it.
She was wearing pajamas.
But all the press in the world won't make a bit of difference if everyone thinks Madeleine is already dead and that her parents killed her.
It's an astonishing story.
Kelvin Mackenzie of the London tabloid The Sun.
Newspaper sales have gone through the roof. If you stick Madeleine on the front page, it will go up. It's Britain's equivalent of O.J. Simpson.
A compelling storyline. Two good-looking, articulate doctors who were wining and dining with friends when their beautiful little girl vanished.
Sex, alcohol, a good-looking woman. Most news editors across the world would think they'd have gone to heaven on that story.
Speculation.
It's absolutely diabolical.
They know what's happened to Madeleine.
Is rampant.
Britain has become a nation of armchair detectives. We're sitting there reading it every morning going, I tell you what, I saw him on television last night, that Jerry McCain. Do you know what? I think he's capable of doing that. That literally is how preposterous it is.
Mackenzie says women in particular don't like Kate because she doesn't act how they imagine a grieving mother should. The tabloids have dubbed her Poker Face.
She doesn't weep in public, does put highlights in her hair, and does look vaguely well turned out. The fact is that she doesn't show emotion triggers off the rest of the country to wonder, well, did she do it?
It's a question that infuriates Kate's family.
She said to me, Mum, I wonder if I was heavier, with a bigger bosom and looked more maternal, if I would get better press. And I just think it's disgusting that my daughter's had to ask those sort of questions. She doesn't deserve it.
The McCanns have been accused of everything, from giving Madeleine an accidental overdose of sleeping pills to burying her in a church courtyard. Because the Portuguese police won't officially confirm or deny anything, it seems nothing is out of bounds.
We are now into a massive feeding frenzy.
And the McCanns are the main course. As the months have dragged on, they've gone from media darlings to tabloid targets. What do you do when the media turns against you?
You know, you don't have an option. When you're in that situation, no matter how painful it is, you want to find your child.
Hi.
Ed Smart, the father of Elizabeth Smart, the young girl found alive 9 months after she was abducted by a homeless drifter.
If you have got her, please let her go. Please.
Remembers when the police and the press thought he was responsible for Elizabeth's disappearance.
Many of the leaks were just so outrageous that it was just infuriating. It really was taking away from finding Elizabeth.
Reports surfaced that Elizabeth had a secret diary and wrote about family abuse.
Completely made up.
Ed was accused of running a sex ring.
That my brothers and I had some kind of a homosexual thing going with each other.
Where do these made-up stories come from? Ed Smart thinks the police leaked some of them. Believing he was involved, the police tried to turn his wife Lois against him.
I could see that something was wrong. And I said to her, "What is it?" And she said, "Well, the police still think that you're not telling the truth." I was so upset that not only was our daughter missing, but they were trying to tear us apart.
So when Ed got a call from a frustrated Jerry McCann a few months ago, he understood exactly what was happening. Everyone was so busy examining Jerry and his wife, they had lost sight of looking for Madeleine.
He said, "Ed, you know, as soon as they took whatever they thought they had in the car to start doing DNA analysis, I felt like the investigation came to a complete halt."
It's a feeling familiar to John Ramsey, the father of John Bonet.
We were willing to accept the fact that they had to look at us. But we said, for heaven's sakes, don't stop there. Well, they did.
Over and over again in police interviews, Patsy and John Ramsey proclaim their innocence.
I didn't do it. John Ramsey didn't do it, and we didn't have a clue of anybody who did do it. My life has been hell from that day forward.
But Ramsey says the Boulder police never seriously considered anyone else in John Bonet's unsolved murder. Like Kate McCann, he was accused of being too cold to be a grieving parent.
I did not kill my daughter, John Bonet. Tell me what a grieving parent is supposed to act like. I think any psychologist would tell you that everyone grieves differently.
So is this what a grieving parent looks like?
I want to say to my babies that your mama loves you so much.
Remember Susan Smith? In 1994, the South Carolina mom was in tears as she claimed her 2 children had been abducted. Turns out she was lying.
Susan Smith will be charged with 2 counts of murder.
Susan Smith murdered her children, drowning them in a lake. So what then about Kate's lack of tears?
Kate and Jerry at the beginning were advised that to become emotional in their television appearances would maybe give pleasure to the person that actually had Madeleine. You know, it was not deemed a good thing for this to happen.
But the strategy seems to have backfired. And then, 1 month ago, the McCanns switched tactics and gave an interview to Spanish TV.
Life's obviously not as happy without Madeleine.
After 6 long months, Kate cried in public.
If people know something, if they can just, I guess, search the heart, really.
The McCanns announced a new 24-hour tip line, but the big headline the next day?
They appear, at least to a majority of the people who watch them on Spanish television, not believable.
According to an informal poll, 70% of the people who watched the McCanns thought they were crying and lying. Portuguese journalist Martim Cabral.
You think that you're riding a big wave of popularity and you've got the press eating out of your hand, and they'll turn around and they'll bite your head off.
So for now, the McCanns are desperate to move the spotlight off themselves and back to where they say it belongs, on finding Madeleine. In the end, it's all they can really do.
She's out there, and I want her back. I mean, that is all. I mean, everything else, I'm sorry, is rubbish.
Relaxed and smiling today. How are you?
Throughout his time of working undercover for 48 hours, no one at the Ocean Club ever discovered who Joe Mora really was.
My strategy was to first build confidence. I had to infiltrate, you know what I mean?
Mora focused on what happened at this dinner table on May the 3rd, where the McCanns and their friends would meet.
They had a table reserved for the 9 of them every evening.
So night after night, this was the pattern. They did their things during the day, and then all the adults would gather at that restaurant to eat and drink.
That was the routine.
Was there ever a time that the kids were included?
No, the routine was just adults.
While the McCanns admit they left their children alone in an unlocked apartment, they have always maintained there were frequent checks.
We actually checked on the children extremely regularly. We did not leave them alone.
But Joe Mora's investigation raises serious questions about that claim. He spoke with resort employees who served the group that night.
The McCanns claim that they got up about every 30 minutes to go check on the kids. Is that true?
No. But the witness is saying there was one male who did get up and walk in the direction of going to the apartment.
But witnesses were serving others that night, so they may not have seen all the comings and goings.
What the employees are saying is that you may think you're checking them every 15 minutes, but when you're pouring the wine, you're having your after dinner coffees, 15 minutes goes by awful fast. So you're really not keeping track of what the real time is.
Joe suggests that after 5 nights of going out and leaving the kids behind, the parents had developed a false sense of security.
It's a situation, there's a pattern, there's a habit. They did it once, they did it twice, there was no problems. They checked on the children, again, no problems. Guess what? On the 6th night, there was a problem.
Employees also told Mora that the McCanns were acting normally that night, something he believes would not be possible if they had just killed their daughter.
You're saying that they killed their daughter, they were able to go join their other friends, have dinner like nothing happened? I'm not buying it. It didn't happen. That's a crazy thought, and it's ludicrous.
Traces of the child's DNA have been found in a car rented by her parents.
Reports of blood and hair samples.
For months, the Portuguese police and the McCanns have been waiting for the final results from DNA samples that were collected from their rental car, a Renault Scenic.
What's ironic here is that when the Renault was taken away to be forensically tested, Kate and Jerry were massively optimistic. They thought, oh, they must have a clue, they must have a lead.
Family friend John Corner knows that car well.
Right, John.
He filmed the McCanns driving it when they were still in Portugal.
That's the vehicle that's being used to not only move the kids around from place to place, but also to get out to the airport and pick up family and friends. So you've got a vehicle that's clocking up a lot of miles.
Once their transportation, the McCanns' rental car has reportedly become a key part of the case against them. Numerous press accounts claim Madeleine's DNA and fluid from a corpse were found in the back of the car. And what makes it so confusing is the fact the car was rented 25 days after Madeleine vanished.
There's one theory that Kate and Jerry rented a car, drove to a place where they had stored Maddie's body, either in a refrigerator or in a shallow grave, took her somewhere else and disposed of her.
This is the daughter that Kate and Jerry waited years for, that Kate and Jerry idolised, that Kate and Jerry would have laid down their own lives for. It's absolutely bizarre. I mean, there's no way that that happened. There's no way.
Are they worried that evidence is being planted?
I'm worried that evidence is being planted.
Independent DNA experts say the testing should have been completed long ago. But police sources have told 48 Hours that the DNA is inconclusive and will not solve this case.
If there was strong DNA evidence, strong forensic evidence, somebody would have been charged and they would have gone to court with it. They don't have it, is my opinion. If they had it, it would have come out.
All I know is that Kate and Jerry tell me all the time, Mum, there's nothing that can come back. Everything they say can be explained by other means.
Joe Mora agrees.
Whatever they are as parents, whatever they are as human beings, they're not killers of their daughter.
Based on your investigation, the real time spent at that resort, talking to the real people who work there and observed the McCanns, what is the truth?
The child was abducted. It was the perfect situation. A solid routine by the parents. An apartment that was not locked. Easy access, easy exit. Gone.
Could Madeleine still be alive?
I strongly believe that Madeleine is out there, and I suppose it's a feeling, but I don't believe Madeleine has been taken away from us permanently. I don't believe that. Don't feel it.
That feeling has been fueled, in part, by dozens of reported sightings of Madeleine across Europe, North Africa, and most recently, Bosnia.
I mean, the reassuring thing for us is that it implies that people are still looking for Madeleine, and that's really important and encouraging.
Just 3 weeks ago, the family released this sketch of a man carrying a child based on the brief sighting of their dinner companion, Jane Tanner. It, too, triggered a flood of leads, but none has panned out.
We are 100% sure that she's alive.
And now, this man, Francisco Marco, a Spanish private investigator hired by a wealthy supporter of the McCanns, claims he has the answers the whole world has been waiting to hear.
We know the kidnapper, and we know where he is. We know who he is, and we know how he has done it.
Marco would not reveal publicly the identity of this alleged suspect. He did tell police, saying he has a new witness who claims that Maddie was moved 2 days after she disappeared.
Madeleine was in a car, and she was given to another person 2 days after the kidnapping.
It's riveting, but is it reliable? Again, when pressed for details, Marco would not reveal anything publicly.
I cannot, because we are working in all of this case.
48 Hours has learned the Portuguese police just received this information. The McCann family is taking a wait-and-see attitude.
Other people have had happy endings. Why? We're a good family. We're entitled to one as well. We might not get it, but I would like to get one. Yeah. Yeah.
Tonight, more than 6 months after Maddie disappeared, Jerry and Kate McCann remain arguidos, suspects under Portuguese law, as does Robert Murat, the local man who continues to be a focus of the investigation. Our private investigator, Joe Mora, believes Maddie was abducted. Portuguese police have told 48 Hours that they want to re-interview the McCann's friends, who were with them at the Tapas bar. Police believe the friends are withholding certain facts that may be key to solving this case. With questions left unanswered, under Portuguese law, the McCanns could remain suspects for as long as 15 years.
She said to me, will we get her back, Mum? And I was able to say time and time again, yes, Kate, of course we will. We will get her back. We'll pray and we'll get her back. And now she doesn't ask me because I think she knows that I would have difficulty there.
For now, the McCanns are focused on somehow getting their lives in order. Jerry's back to work at his medical practice.
Everything that we could have done personally, I think we have done. We are 6 months down the line. The infrastructure's there behind us, and it allows me to concentrate on my job.
Kate is home with their young twins. They wait, they worry, and they wonder what went so terribly wrong.
Please give our little girl back. Por favor, devolva a nossa menina.